You don't get hacked if you're not successful in any way, you know? So as soon as you show that success, you also become a target.
One big thing did happen last week. North Korea happened, I guess. And so
Fucking North Korea happened.
We want to bring on and do a special edition security corner. We do take security obviously very seriously at Mastra, but shit happens. And, things happened last week. We want to talk about it. We want to talk about what we're seeing in the industry. And so for that, we're going to bring on our good friend, Ismail from Superagent. So let's get Ismail.
Hey guys.
I think maybe the first thing is talk a little bit about what we experienced last week at Mastra. And then Ismail, I want you to chime in seeing what you saw from the outside, what you're seeing in the industry. For those that weren't aware, we did have a supply chain attack on Mastra. It was pretty sophisticated. And the way that they got us, well, we can kind of talk through it, but it was, they got us. And it turns out from some investigations, it seems to be linked to some hackers in North Korea. And, don't know how that's verified, of course. It's all, I think there's some reason to believe it's true, though, because it kind of matches patterns from the Axios attack as well, which if you were paying attention, that happened, I don't know how long ago at this point, but it was a while back. So essentially, Abhi, feel free to jump in here.
Yeah.
But essentially how it happened is through some reasonably well-known person on LinkedIn got hacked, reached out to one of our engineers to meet to talk about AI engineering. Our engineers are generally helpful. We meet with users and customers and people that are kind of in the space. So they had a call with them. The call was a Microsoft Teams link, or what was perceived to be a Microsoft Teams link.
It was teams.lineapp.com.
So
not a Microsoft Teams link, but
so it should have been caught, obviously. But when you click the link and it looks like Microsoft Teams, it feels like Microsoft Teams, it is the exact Microsoft Teams app you would normally go to for the most part, besides the fact that it asks you to install something or download something, which, our engineer trying to get their audio to work, I'm sure that's part of the thing, right? Your audio's not working. Click this button, click the button, installed something on their machine, had access to some credentials, and then Abhi, why don't you take it from here?
Yeah, so it had access to their NPM credentials. One big mistake we made, which is such a foot gun for us, is everyone on our NPM org, besides this person, had two-factor auth enabled. And so at first we thought everybody had two-factor auth. It was not a threat vector that we were thinking about, like how could they have done that? Oh, we almost thought that the person's Gmail got hacked. So the first thing we did, we wasted a lot of time before we got to the solution. What had happened was the attacker took control of the account. They used the NPM token, which is very strong, the one that was on the machine, to change the email of the NPM account. Then they proceeded to kick us all out of our packages, which we kind of were sweating bullets.
Which some of the packages, not all of them.
Not all of them.
There were only certain ones that were basically able to be kicked out of.
And so we were sweating bullets, but then we realized we could just add ourselves back, which was good. So we got us all back in. We essentially deprecated we first unpublished any attacking package. NPM sucks, by the way, for trying to do this. There's not publisher friendly. We had to write scripts. We had to run them many times because your OTP would run out or you get rate limited, especially when you're in a really trying time. That's not the time to have tools break on you. But the tools are shit in the first place. But I digress. The attacker has the account. They publish a package called EasyDjS, which unsuspectingly is like a DayJS clone that has a post-install script or some bullshit. I mean, Ismail will tell us more, I'm sure. Essentially, if you downloaded Mastra during this time, you would get a crypto wallet search and keys search, and you would just get hacked like that. We were able to mitigate everything pretty quickly. It took us a couple hours. Could have been faster if the tools were better. I'm just saying again. And then we were back and we published forward, healthy version, and then now we're back in business. We issued both a GitHub issue explaining what happened. We talked to every single paying customer that we have, every single champion or lover of Mastra. We were on the communication spree. Many thanks to Shane and Sam, beasting on that. That was great. Then we started deciding, how the hell this happened. And, you have a lot of interactions, especially ones that don't seem off. Social engineering is really good that way. And once we talked to this engineer in question, we were asking him like, hey, did anything weird happen in the last 3 weeks? And at first he was like, no, because it's like this kind of interaction is just so normal, like a failed Zoom call and those types of things you don't really remember. But then I really questioned, like, walk through the last couple of weeks, like walk through everything that's happened. And then we realized, no, you got socially engineered here because that is weird. You shouldn't be, taking messages from Telegram. You shouldn't be going to weird non-Microsoft Live type things. And it could have happened to anyone. Definitely some members on our team also said, like, damn, like, I want to help people out all the time. I could have easily been got the same way. So we marked their computer as dead, cleared it out, re-rolled both his personal stuff and his work stuff, and now that machine is good again, and he's back to business. And so that's what happened.
That is crazy. Yeah, the interesting part is that we had a discussion on Slack where this was just before the attack, I guess, where you guys had identified more or less like puned contributors trying to inject these crypto backdoors into PRs, right? So it might be a coincidence. I'm not sure, but I doubt that it is pure coincidence, especially since both were like crypto, like there's a crypto aspect to it, right? So I would think that, from my point of view, what I saw that week was that, you guys were out, you were celebrating, I think it was GitHub stars, you were pushing a lot of stuff, you were getting a lot of views on like social media, etc., etc. And I think that is also a part of it. Getting hacked, you don't get hacked if you're not successful in any way, So as soon as you show that success, you also become a target. So if I put like one and one together, what I see is like you start posting a bunch of stuff you're shipping, all of the success, all of that stuff. You get these backdoors in your PRs, which you're able to identify. And then this, phishing attempt happens. I would guess that individual was compromised maybe a couple of weeks back.
It was 2 weeks ago, yeah. So they've been organizing it behind the scenes for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so it's very organized. That's the gist of what I'm trying to say. It's not just, hey, somebody, some random dude opened Claude Code with like Fable 5 and tried to, hack you. That's not how it usually works. And it's common, I would say, the past couple of months, I don't know how many of these phishing attacks, of these supply chain attacks, which basically means for anyone out there that somebody gets a hold of a token and publishes more or less a lifecycle script in an NPM package, like a post install, and then that runs some code that then compromises the whole system and, extracts your environment variables and does a bunch of nasty stuff. So the hack itself is really simple to detect, and that's what's annoying with these package managers. It's so easy to detect that, a child could detect it. A simple run with like a 7 billion parameter model would detect it because it's only one file. You only need to check like the package JSON more or less. So it's really annoying that it's happening. But I think that, I agree with Abhi that, NPM and these guys, they basically dropped the ball on security. I also think GitHub dropped the ball on security in some sense. And but what I'm seeing right now is that they are starting to gradually, accept that they have a role, that they need to play out that role, and that they need to make their software more friendly towards publishers, both from a like security perspective, but also from a developer experience perspective. So I'm seeing those trends. But again, that's the nasty part with getting attacked. These attackers, they can, put a lot of energy and they only need to hit right once. We as defenders, we don't have that luxury. We need to keep defending everything all of the time. So they are in a prime position and they have a lot of leverage in that position. And they have all of the AIs in the world to help them, achieve it. Creating phishing links, doing all of these sophisticated stuff, probing your, internal stuff, probing your users, all of that stuff.
Even the ability to create a Microsoft Teams-like app that looks almost identical to Teams, that would be kind of hard to do in the past, right? There's a lot of at least UI work that you would have to do. Now you can just one-shot that. You could one-shot a roughly working Teams clone, and so it can make these phishing attacks so much more sophisticated and feeling more real than they were previously.
And I would guess, because we took that PR that you guys had, I traced that contributor back, and that person had made very similar PRs to a lot of other bigger open source projects. So I would suspect that those are also on the target list of these hackers. So if I was one of them, I would start, checking all of my CI/CD pipelines, like what can I even, because the problem is that, this guy at your company, he's a trusted contributor. But what happens when a trusted contributor gets compromised? How does the CI/CD look when something is compromised? What does that hardening look like? I think people need to start thinking about that. You can't think that everybody, because they are contributors, that they are not puned or not phished. You have to have that in mind. I would also start looking at trying to detect these anomalies in my PRs and that kind of stuff as well, because that could be like more or less a type of probing that they do to understand how your CI/CD pipelines are set up, what they can do and what they can't do. So all of those signals, I think people should take very seriously. One last thing that I heard today was one of our vendors is open source, and they basically, this is the second time I've heard it now in a short period of time, where they're basically pulling the open source repository and making it private, more or less.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, I mean, with all the, slop issues, slop PRs, plus real security issues, open source maintenance is, I think, harder now than it ever has been in the past.
Yeah, and I just also read, let me share my screen. I read that IBM is doing 5 billion. They're dedicating 5 billion to redefine the future of open source in the AI era. So basically, Red Hat has been doing this type of security for Linux for a very long time. But that hasn't trickled down into the regular open source ecosystem, right? So I think there's a lot of things going on. And I think that if there isn't a organized attempt by larger players, but also smaller players and well-known maintainers with a lot of downloads, I think that there needs to be an organized attempt to harden the whole supply chain, because one faulty chain and everybody are basically in danger.
I really don't think GitHub is being a good steward of NPM. Even support tickets that day, they answered 6 hours later. How is that acceptable? Obviously, maybe we don't have SLAs with publishers, but if you're moving volume on downloads, you should have some type of SLA, because, I don't know, it's not the whole internet, but a lot of dependents out there. There are a lot of people behind these packages or using these packages. They could get screwed. And it's not just open API keys. There's other stuff that people got on their computers, And
one other thing, this EasyDjS package, why is it still up? How can it still be up? It's been 2 weeks. That thing has been out there, on the registry for 2 weeks.
And I reported it that day and still up.
It's so crazy. And I think that it's not only, NPM. I don't want to trash them specifically. If you go to PyPI, it's the same thing. I reported a malicious package 6 months ago, and I got a response 2 weeks ago. So it takes a lot of time. And I think it's a business model problem. I don't think they have a viable business model. So they don't put the effort, behind security.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I think once you get to a certain threshold of downloads, and you would, I think about us, we would certainly pay for some power tools or some access to folks for, and I don't know how much that would be. I don't know what the business model should be, but it does feel like it's such a critical part. Even there's little things with NPM, even like NPM statistics. We do base a lot of, some of our metrics on how many people are downloading and using Mastra. And we get that through NPM stats, which are not reliable and they go down days on end sometimes. So it's like the infrastructure is not great. These package management solutions, I feel like they started out and provide a great resource. So I'm very thankful that they're there. But also because they're so well-known and popular and used, I have high expectations, and that they don't meet those expectations.
I mean, NPM hasn't always been shit. There was some glory days, for sure.
Yeah.
It's just not today, Also, look at this, guys. So it's still up. It published 8 days ago. Makes sense. That was when the shit went down. The collaborator, this is our guy's hacked account, because he had to make a new NPM account because he couldn't get this back. This is the account they stole. And then look how they make it look so legit. Like
Yeah.
they steal all this, so you're
Sponsors,
like, oh, okay.
yeah. I mean, and even the version number, it's not
Yeah.
like 0.0.1. It's like looks like it's been around for a while. They got
Yeah.
docs in different languages. I mean, they just
Yeah.
stole everything from Day.js.
The weird part is that if you scroll down, there's a button. It's called like Analyze with Socket. Socket already has this flagged, you know?
Yeah.
Why not just show that this thing is flagged? That's the least you can do if you already have that Socket button, you know,
Yep.
on the. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
I would just say one thing, the reason we did find out about it is because of tools like Socket. I don't remember the exact vendor, but that run periodic scans. Like that's how I was informed about it. I saw it on X an hour after it happened. So there was like tools that caught it really quickly. And then, you know, it was late at night for us in the US time zone. Abhi, you were sleeping at the time in France. And so we rallied the team. We were acting as quick as we could. You know, so those types of notification systems are super valuable for open source.
Yeah.
So we're very thankful for teams that run those scans and do kind of publish when things happen, because that helps people able to react much more quickly.
Dude, when I woke up that day, like I woke up like, you know, like when you wake up sometimes you like jolt up. I woke up like that and I was like, something's wrong. I can just feel it. And I go to my phone and then Shane's like, we got fucked. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, that's crazy. One thing I have to say though, I was reading X that day and I saw you guys posting. I saw a lot of other people posting. One thing that I saw was that all of the security companies, they sell, the main selling point is fear. You are afraid of getting hacked, right? So as soon as someone gets hacked, they take that and they amplify that in order to try to get more sales. And I understand that. That's just business, right? So I understand why they're doing it. But what I saw, even from some of these scanners, I don't want to mention any names, but what I saw was just pure misinformation. You know, what happened, how it happened, who was it that got puned or whatever, right?
Yeah, an not old account that wasn't active. No, this guy's on our team today. He shipped code today, you know? It's like, this is a very active contributor.
Exactly. And so I feel like, and I've heard this from other maintainers, that they sometimes feel screwed by these scanners because the scanners pick it up, they post it, that's all fine, right? But that creates a lot of stress and a lot of bad will for a maintainer that might be doing it, you know, as a hobby thing on the evenings or whatever, right? So I feel like that could be done much more smoother than it is done today. But I get that people want to sell. I get that.
Yeah, those scanners could have just asked us, you know?
Yeah.
Sure, post about it. It's fine. You know, it's like that's part of the job. You want people to have these scanners and these tools in place. But yeah. All right, Ismail, we appreciate you coming on for Security Corner.
One last plug for Ismail, and then we'll let him go. Sorry. Because we had these fishy PRs, we're using Superagent now. And I'm just going to plug Superagent for a sec. I was working on a PR today, and I introduced some vulnerabilities or like something that's not secure. Superagent had my back. P2 and a P1 up here, which is dope. No offense to CodeRabbit, they're the homies, but Superagent is very much like honed in on these aspects of the code base, so you should give them a try.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Nice to be on, and hopefully I'll be on the next time without you guys being hacked. Somebody else getting hacked.
Next time we're going to be talking about someone else but ourselves. Every week in AI, something insane happens.
And there's so much drama. Every Monday, we break it down live.
We do the news, we bring on guests building in the space.
And we go deep into the stuff that actually matters.
Agents Hour, every Monday, noon Pacific.
Follow. Don't miss it.
Peace.